My name is Chelsea. I am going to be going through this painting today with you. I used to work with Amanda years ago, and if you have come to these in the last few years, I've been the one that's been teaching these classes. And I'm doing it remotely now because I moved out of state. So I really appreciate Amanda still wanting me to do these. I hope that you have as great of a time as I usually do teaching them. Um, and so, yeah, that's kind of it for now. We're going to be going through this painting that I did for you guys. Pretty simple. I wanted to keep it simple for your class because of the time frame that you guys had. But um, since, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But since you're in kind of a shorter class or whatever, and this is a pretty quick painting, you'll be able to take a little bit of time to add what you'd like to change it in any way that you would like. Especially if you don't like the colors as much, you can change the colors to fit your style, whatever you like, that kind of thing. So I definitely don't want you to feel like you have to do exactly what I do, especially in this type of a setting. You know, I'm just a guided instructor. Have fun with it. Do whatever you'd like to do. If you want to do something different, I won't even know. So this is the best. This is the best of both worlds. Um, so we're gonna go through our supplies. If you've never done this before, you should have like 2 to 3 paintbrushes. So I've got this kind of wide. It's about a 1 inch brush, about a ½ inch, and then I have a little teeny brush. From what I've done before, I didn't ask Amanda what your supplies were, but I assume it's a 1 inch foam brush, like a smaller, medium-sized brush, and then probably a toothpick for the details, which will be great. And that's the way that I'll teach this. Is if you are, I'm gonna move this a little bit, doing that. Also, I wanted to apologize for any of the noise on the mic. I normally do this not on my phone, but with the setting that I have right now with where I live, it was easier just to film it on my phone. So I apologize for any awkward echo. I'm also in a basement, and I'm in next to the like utility room, so I apologize for that. Um, but there's that. Okay, then you're gonna have your paint. So, from what I know, you'll have the primary colors. So you'll have your red, yellow, and blue, and then your black and white. Oops. I just have blue, yellow, black, and white on my palette. You can barely see the white, but it's right there. Because I'm not going to be using the red. The red didn't mix the way that I wanted to, so I didn't do it. In this painting, or actually, the point is that you're going to have different colors than what I have, and so your color mixing might mix a little bit different, but that's okay. I can explain it different ways on how to make it the way that you would like to do it. So, you should also have a napkin and a cup of water. Water is for rinsing out your brushes. Don't drink it. That would not be good. I don't know what would happen, but you probably wouldn't feel very well. And then your napkins, and then your canvas. So we're gonna be painting on a 11 by 14 is what I have. You should have the same one. I'm gonna just kind of hold the canvas so that I can get it close to the phone, or like the camera. So that should work out pretty well. So what we're gonna do when we're painting this is we're gonna do the background first. So the background consists of all of our color. We're gonna do the background, and then we'll take a break for a few minutes to let these dry, and then we'll come back in and do all of the black and white detail. So we're just gonna get started with that. We're gonna start with the middle color, which is gonna be our yellow, and then we're gonna go on the outside with our green, and then go to our blue. And we're gonna do that especially specifically because you're gonna be using your foam brush. They're not really easy to rinse out. And I don't want you to have to worry about that. And so we're just going to get started with that. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my paint. I'm going to get a little bit of water on my brush and kind of kind of shake off the excess. And I'm going to take my yellow and some white. And I kind of you can mix it or you can just get it both colors on your brush. It doesn't really matter the way that you do it. You just kind of want both of those colors on there because you're going to get your yellow in here and it's going to be highlighting. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start kind of in the center. I'm going to brush back and forth, left, right. I'm going from one edge to the other. As I do this, all of that paint is going to start spreading out. Now I'm all out of paint. You can kind of see that it's a little dry now. So I'm just going to pick up more of that yellow and white. And I'm going to continue applying it. And I'm going to cover a couple of inches. You can do more, you can do less. You can always add, but you can't subtract. So I would do a little bit more yellow if you're unsure, and then you can cover it up with that blue to make that green color. If you want some lighter streaks, you can just take a little bit of white directly into your yellow and kind of add some streakiness going on in there. Like that. So there's my yellow. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start picking up a tiny bit of blue. You don't need a lot because you want more yellow so that you can get this green. So I've got a tiny bit of blue. I just dabbed my brush into my palette. And I'm going to start adding it and kind of brushing it a little bit across the top edge of my yellow and going up. You can also pick up some white because you don't want it to be very dark. So I brush it in a little bit into that yellow. Some of my yellow is picking up and it's going up a little higher. Looks great. You can't really go wrong with this part. Let's see. So I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom part. My goal is I really want that paint to have been kind of wet, to kind of remain wet with this phase, with this green phasing, because you want it to blend nicer. So as I just run my brush back and forth, it's going to start blending my paint. Now here's a couple things about this. If you feel like your brush is sticking, it's not blending the way you want it to, get a little bit of water on your brush, just a tiny bit, and run it across that paint that you've already applied. This will thin out what you've already applied and it'll help it blend a little bit better for you. Now I'll pick up more paint and I'll just keep applying it. I kind of like the look of adding that yellow into both the top and the bottom. I'm liking how this is turning out a lot better than my original, which is totally good. Also remember, you only really need to worry about the center because you're going to cover up both sides with black paint later. So don't stress too much about this. Maybe you're not stressing at all. Maybe you're a perfectionist. It's your painting. You can do whatever you want with it. You know, don't stress too much about it. So I'm going to go a little bit lower because the rest of this is just going to be blue. So adding in this green a little bit longer, a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to go up a little bit higher. So again, all I'm doing is getting a little bit of yellow with a little bit of blue and white. Whoop. Let's see if we like how that turned out, because that definitely wasn't intentional with that white, but I may like it, you know. I need to go to blue anyway, so that's that. So I'm going to start adding in more blue. I'm not going to pick up any more yellow. Just going to pick up some blue and some white. And we're going to gradually go up to the top of this. Sorry, my hand's cramping a little bit. I moved out of state to northern New York, and I got rid of all my painting stuff, and I just haven't really replaced it yet. So I don't have an easel anymore, and that's why we're doing this. I hope that's okay. So I'm just going to go a little bit higher. Well, I'm going to cover the rest of the canvas, but I'm just going to slowly add a little bit more. I still have a little bit of that yellow on my brush, which is kind of nice because sometimes it adds a little bit of that kind of green note to it. So it doesn't look like stripes, because I really don't want it to look like stripes. if you're adding this blue, I'll kind of show you an example, and it gets really dark, and you don't like that, just take a little bit of white, kind of spread it over that wet blue paint, and it'll lighten it for you. Give you that nice, those nice kind of variations of color. So if you're ahead of me, you totally might be, you're going to do this for the top and the bottom of your canvas. So this is how we're going to cover the rest of the canvas. So if you get ahead of me, feel free to finish this up. You don't have to completely follow along with me. And then you'll be ready for your break when that happens. But I'm just going to finish this because I may have something to say. I don't know. Well, I think that looks lovely. So you may agree or disagree. So now I'm going to start on this bottom part. So this part is dried. And that may frustrate you a little bit because it's not blending as much. So when you do that, you're going to do a very light touch with your brush. You can kind of pull back, put your hand at the end of your brush, add a little bit more water if you'd like to, and lightly brush across that and get it to kind of blend a little bit. And then I'm just going to continue with that blue. And that white all the way to the bottom. Adding more water when I need to. Just painting all the way to the bottom. And again, if you don't really want to, you don't really have to worry as much about the edges or like the sides. I would suggest still painting them because then you don't want to limit where you have to put your black detail. And I like as I blend it, again, I do want to just remind you, go from one edge to the other because it'll give you those nice blended lines. If you kind of brush back and forth, you'll get kind of broken lines, and you may like it. I don't really like it, so that's not really what I want to happen in this painting. Okay, so here's the part where you can take a break. I'm going to put my brush in my water cup. If you have your foam brush, you're going to want to kind of dab it in the water and kind of blot it with your napkin. The only thing you're going to use it for next is possibly your black. So it's okay if you have those colors in it still, because black just cancels everything out basically. If it gives you problems, if there's like white in there and stuff, that's the only time it would really give you issues. But if it's just like blue, I don't think it would actually give you issues. I think it would actually look cool if blue's kind of mixed in with the black. It kind of deepens the color, richens it. But here's the part that I'm going to kind of try to show you. Okay, so you see right here how my canvas is shining, but like up here, it's a little shiny, but it's more matte. We want it to look like this. So if your canvas is looking wet and shiny like this, it's not dry yet. What you can do is you can kind of wave it and get it to dry. You can let it sit there for 5 minutes and it'll be dry, especially if you're using the same type of acrylic that I'm using. It won't really give you any issues. But you want to wait until it's dry to continue. If it's a little bit shiny and you're just going to end up painting black over it, that's not that big of a deal. But you want to wait. So I'm going to pause this video, give you a couple minutes to finish up, let this dry, and then come back when you're ready to get started again. That didn't work.